Hello and welcome back to AIBC Summit YouTube channel. Now, not even a month into 2021, we saw Bitcoin skyrocket to 41.5 thousand US dollars. If you've not heard about Bitcoin price movement, you've probably been living under a rock. It even got the attention of mainstream media. Well, now joining me is Peter McCormack, host of the What Bitcoin Did podcast. He's going to share his thoughts on the market moves. We're also talking crypto funds and Goldman Sachs setting the way for other institutions. So Peter, first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jessica. Lovely to see you again.
Great to see you again too. Now, over the holidays and just beforehand, you did cause quite a storm with a tweet when you were purchasing, I think it was 2.55 Bitcoin using a loan. It was quite a risk, and it got quite a lot of people talking about the brave move that you did. And actually, the risk did pay off probably faster than you anticipated. I'd love to get your feedback just on if you were expecting this to pay off as quickly as it did. We've seen some very quick price movements. I'd love to get your impression of what we've seen in the past month, let's say.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it to pay off as quickly as it did. I also didn't expect people to be as triggered by it as they did. I would never recommend any individual go and take a loan to buy Bitcoin or crypto. I think it's a really stupid thing to do. I was kind of inspired by Michael Saylor. I read his thesis and what he was doing. So I just thought it was an opportunity to front run his decision. He'd announced what he was going to do. I thought it would have an impact on price. And what had been happening is since back in June, I started moving all my business and personal income into Bitcoin, back from about 10,000. I decided that the only thing I was going to leave in both my personal and business account was about 5 weeks worth of cash flow. So business cash flow, 5 weeks, and personal cash flow. So I was just piling it all into Bitcoin. And then one morning I woke up and there was a dip down to 17,500. And I was just sat with my laptop in bed, and I logged into my bank website. I was like, what's the most I can borrow? And it was £35,000 at 3 clicks. So I took the money and did it. But some people were like, oh, this is so irresponsible. I've got really good business cash flow. Like the business generates ranging from 10 to 30,000 a month in profit. So a loan repayment of $800 a month is nothing. So for me, it was just a very easy decision. I was very confident that the market was going to continue to grow. I knew I was front running Michael Saylor, so I was kind of okay with it. And yes, obviously it's paid back. I think right now it's at about double. And then I made a decision on the weekend. My dad wants a new car, so I decided I was going to liquidate the loan and just buy him a new car.
And of course, this isn't financial advice, but you have been very transparent about the purchase and also the selling, as you mentioned. You kind of tweeted out this weekend. And the reason for it, you've said the new car. Is it you're expecting the price to retrace in any way as well? Or is it just that you're just going to take the profit and enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't really something I thought through in detail. Like I said, I knew what he was doing, so I was going to front run him. And I've always been very transparent. If you go onto my website, my company website, ever since I pretty much took my first check, I do an income report every month. I show how much money's coming in, how much is going out, what I'm spending it on, what I'm investing in. I've always been running it absolutely transparently. And it's not that I expect the price to retrace. Actually, if my dad hadn't mentioned the car, I probably wouldn't sell it. But just he mentioned he wanted a new car. He drives a really crappy Kia, and he's always wanted a Jag. So I was like, well, just go and order a Jag, and I'll liquidate some Bitcoin, and we'll just get it. I'm not one of these people who needs to hodl forever. I'm financially secure. I mean, the kids have everything we need. The business makes very good money. But Dad wants a Jag, so I just thought I'd get him a Jag.
And this video is not sponsored by Jaguar, the car brand, by the way.
Not sponsored by Jaguar. No, it's not.
Amazing. And let's take a look at so I hope your dad enjoys the car, by the way. And let's take a look at other market kind of news and updates that we have seen. So I think something that came out quite recently, we've seen that Goldman Sachs is said to have issued a request for information to actually explore digital asset custody soon. Is this setting an example for other institutions here? And are we going to start to see this real competition between these large players when it comes to their positioning with crypto?
Well, I think we've already had the scene set by other institutions. I think anybody looking at Greyscale right now, the volumes they're doing with regards to Bitcoin. I mean, did they buy something like I'm not sure if it's the last month or even just this year, but they've bought something like 47,000 Bitcoin. They've got tens of billions under management, and there's a lot of interest in Bitcoin right now. And I think all these institutions, they have to, firstly, they have a duty to provide services for their clients, and they have a duty to make profit themselves. So I think I think we're in the time now, Jessica, whereby if you're a Bitcoin naysayer, you're starting to come across as a bit of a moron, because I understand in 2017, it was the first massive run where we got kind of like widespread understanding or awareness of Bitcoin. I think the naysayers now are just starting to look quite ridiculous. The amount of money that's going in, the amount of money that's being invested, the Bitcoin thesis is pretty clear now. So it does not surprise me. I still think we're very early, and it's unsurprising that Goldman Sachs wants to take a piece of the pie.
Piece of the pie. And I listened to one of your podcasts, because you said crypto naysayers there, and I listened to the What Bitcoin Did with Francis Coppola. I hope I pronounced the name
Coppola,
correctly.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic discussion, because you had kind of a very pro Bitcoin advocate, and you also had someone that was economist by nature and was kind of making some very valid arguments against, but she wasn't necessarily a naysayer. She was more just kind of asking the questions that I think the regular people that don't really understand the concept of Bitcoin yet might ask, but with a little bit more backing behind it as well. And she made reference to a Bitcoin financial crisis. Obviously, everyone in the Bitcoin community referenced 2008 as being this creation. And she was saying that as the asset remains kind of unregulated. Can you summarize some of the points that she made, and how much of a big role do we think regulation could play, and maybe even has to play this year for the industry to evolve into the next stage?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting interview, and I think it's one of those ones that proves getting two people together to talk in person is much more effective than making points on Twitter and arguing, which is a time vacuum. I still think Francis is possibly somebody who still thinks of Bitcoin as more about transactions. Therefore, it's more about consider it more like traditional money, like, if you and me were in Malta and we're going for a coffee, that kind of situation, paying for coffee. Whereas I think the Bitcoin thesis has evolved much more around the store of value. And I don't think she's fully into that yet. I mean, she highlighted that. Therefore, she has concerns about issues around scalability. But actually, one thing that really stood out in the interview for me is I did a recent thing. So I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here. I did a recent multi-part series about Donald Trump. I was trying to understand political division in the US, why it exists. I ended up reading a book called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, and he actually talked about people who are progressives and conservatives having different moral foundations. Most people kind of shoot from the hip and then post-rationalize based on their own moral foundations. And so if you're a liberal, one of the things you tend to care about is care harm, whereas if you're a conservative, you care more about tradition. That once I got an understanding of that, it became very clear why people are arguing. And so when I went into this debate, and when I started hearing some of Francis's arguments, they tended to sound very much progressive, because her moral foundations were based on a progressive, liberal being care harm. So two things that she worries about is global warming and the impact on the climate from Bitcoin mining. She also worries about, will Bitcoin lead to inequality? Whereas a lot of Bitcoiners tend to be conservative, so that's not really based on their moral foundation. And that's what became very clear. And what I've noticed now is it's not just Francis. I've noticed not lots of the Bitcoin naysayers tend to be liberals, because they have the care harm foundation. So probably not the answer you're looking for, but was a really eye-opening interview. And actually, recently I co-authored an article with Andy Edstrom, where we actually use Haidt's work and moral foundations to understand better how to try and sell Bitcoin to people. Because if you are liberal, it's going to be a very difficult sell right now.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, what I'll do is I'll grab the link off you after the interview, and I'll pop it in the description below, because I'll definitely want to have a read, and I'm sure some of our audience will as well. And it was also the 300th episode of the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
300.
So Congratulations. That is a marathon, not a sprint. And I think in this industry, that shows that you've been providing content for a very long time. For some of our audience that maybe haven't delved into the online content surrounding Bitcoin yet, maybe you can give a favorite interview. You can identify one that if you were going to direct people over, they should watch.
Do you know what? If you've never heard my podcast before and you are only freshly exposed to Bitcoin, I'm going to listen to the most recent one. We hit the milestone by doing a Ultimate Bitcoin 101. I did it with Vijay Boyapati, who authored the Bullish Case for Bitcoin, which to me is the first article I send to people if they're interested in Bitcoin. And we know there's a lot of interest right now, so we decided just to put together a show which was all the key questions that somebody might have, like what is money? Why does Bitcoin matter? What is scarcity? I think that's a great starting place. And then if you enjoy that, you can work your way backwards. If you're a long-time Bitcoiner and you really want something else, then I did this fantastic show with Brandon Quittem based on The Fourth Turning, which is an excellent book. I recommend everyone read it. We're probably in a fourth turning now, which is quite an interesting time. But we looked at The Fourth Turning through the lens of what it means for Bitcoin. That was a very, very popular show. A lot of people loved that. I would definitely go and check that out and then go and listen to the other 299.
Just start there, just close. We're in lockdown, so there's nothing else to do anyway. So there's no excuses, guys. And now, just finally, because if we look at the week ahead, something that we are expecting to see is Osprey, REC, Bitcoin Trust. They're starting to operate OTC Bitcoin sales this week. Are we seeing that crypto trust funds are actually getting more competitive right now? And is this something where you think it might be kind of a bullish indicator of this week ahead? As we know, the markets are moving so quickly. There's really a lot to look ahead for. Is this something for you that you've acknowledged?
I mean, I just think that's similar to the Goldman situation. I think a lot of people are starting to move into the markets. It doesn't matter whether you're custody, an exchange, whether you are providing IRAs, whether you are a trading firm. I think everybody is looking at Bitcoin and realizing, hold on, this isn't going away. This is growing rapidly. And we need to be part of this. And if we're not, we're going to be left behind. And so it doesn't matter who you are. The gravity of Bitcoin seems to be pulling everybody into it. Even in the content area, Jessica, you and I are going to face stiff competition from the Bloombergs and the MSNBCs as they move more into this area. This is a gravity that is pulling everybody into it. So no, it doesn't surprise me. I expect bullish news every day. Every week we hear new things. You could write a summary every week of all the things that have happened. The weirdest thing, though, Jessica, I think, is that I feel like we're like 3 months into the year, but it's January the 18th. So much has happened. It's just going to be a very exciting year for all of us, and we deserve it, right? After the last 2 years.
Exactly. And I think what's remarkable is kind of each week when we were creating content in this industry, we were picking out even individual court cases that we were seeing in the US, saying, would this push the price for because of regulation moving forward? And I think you've really summarized it very well, but actually there is news after news after news, which is positive for the industry, that maybe I need to start reevaluating my questions, because we can't dissect each news now as a price indicator, because you're right, so much is happening in the space and it's really remarkable. Have you noticed a change in audience or an increase since we are so close into January and we have seen such positive news come out?
Yeah, I have. I noticed a few things. So every show I say, look, if you want to get in touch, reach out to me and I will reply to you. I used to get about one email every 3 days. I'm getting 5 to 10 a day now. So that's the starting point. My show numbers are gone through the roof. So I had a dip back in March when the lockdown first happened. And I used to do like 250,000 downloads a month. The last 3 months have all been like 4 to 450. This month's tracking at about 600,000. So masses of downloads, masses of interest. I'm getting masses of requests of people saying, can I come on the show? Also, sadly, a really obvious indicator is a massive increase in the scams. To the point now, this morning, I was almost considering my Twitter feed stopping people being able to comment, because I'm getting all these, the Winklevoss are giving away some Bitcoin, send some here. Somebody emailed me and another person DM'd. I actually tweeted about it. 2 people have just got fell for the scam. My DMs are just full of scams and token scams. That's the downside of it. That's making it actually really difficult. But that's what comes with this market. You get scam. We have success and we have scammers.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And I think for newcomers as well, it just takes that first initial transaction to be one that is isn't legitimate, a scam, as you've said, and it will put them off the industry for a few years. So you keep doing what you're doing, being vigilant and spreading the word for people as well. But Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's always a pleasure to catch up. It's nice to be able to have such positive news. I think this has been one of our most positive interviews that we've done so far. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Jessica.
Right, welcome. Well, that's all from us here. We'd love to hear how you found this segment. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you next time.